Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes. I am your host, Charlene, and you are joining me today for episode number 20. Saturday is Saturn's Day. But first, always like to start with 3 things I did over the weekend to help with my witchcraft practice. And there's nothing. I have a big fat nothing. I know I'm still healing, and a big part of that is resting so my body, recovers from surgery, but still, oh my goodness, like Slug City. It was a super stormy weekend, and I had a wonderful fire in my fireplace for most of it, but I did not do any fire magic with it. I baked my normal weekend bread. This time I added a little garlic and a little rosemary, but I didn't do any kitchen magic. I lit my candles as I normally do, but I did not do any candle magic. I did not pull any cards nor read in any of my books. I have a big fat nothing to contribute to today's podcast for weekend workings. I am so sorry. The only thing I can say that I did was slow down. Even stop and take, a moment a couple of times. It was pouring rain, like downpour on the weekend. I was curled up in my bed with my cats and my dog. I had the electric blanket going, so we were beyond cozy, which is really hard to not want to just stay curled up in. I was watching TV, and something at one point just made me stop. I turned off the TV, and I just listened to the rain that pounded against my home. I love storms, I always have, and I have always appreciated their strength and power. Lying in bed, all snuggled up and warm, listening to the rain was calming, even though the storm was violent. We lost power a couple times due to the aggressive storms, but even though things were racing outside, I was so calm inside. It was like, being in the middle of a cone with wild forces flying around me, but the center, where I was lying, was still and calm. So I know I mentioned, last week in my episode about the element of air, how sometimes I really do feel like the wind stops me in my tracks and makes me listen. It really was, one of those moments, even though I was inside safe and warm, while I didn't feel the air and wind, against my skin, the storm called to me and made me stop what I was doing and be still. So I did appreciate that. But that's it. Yeah, I don't really have anything to share. Okay, moon status this week. Our beautiful moon is in a first quarter stage right now. This is the halfway point between her new moon and her full moon stage. That is, full moon's coming up on Monday. So this is a balanced time. Not an unusual time to feel a bit more, outgoing when it's halfway point like this. You'll definitely find more info if you look up or know about a waxing gibbous moon, which actually starts tomorrow. Oh my goodness. The moon is gaining power, but it's not yet full. So it's a good time to do short-term spell work. Things that will build your momentum for what you'll be doing on the full moon. Good things to do now, really in the rest of this week. Think positively. Seriously, this is a time for positive growth and creation. What do you want to attract and develop? It's all about receiving love and building your strength. All right, let's jump into today's topic and how Saturdays are all about Saturn. So one of my witchy work wishes was to work with the energy of the days of the week. And I have pulled one day each month so far. On previous episodes, I have covered Monday, Moon Day, Tuesday, Mars Day, Wednesday, Mercury Day, and Thursday, Jupiter Day. Of course, we had Friday, Venus, or Freya's Day on the last one. So now we are venturing into the weekend, diving into the energy of Saturn that happens each Saturday. All right, so what are the basics with Saturn Saturdays? Well, our colors are black, gray, purple, like a dark purple, dark brown, and amber. Now, the two signs for Saturn Saturday are Capricorn and Aquarius. And the elements, well, we have three for this one. We have earth, air, and fire. Our crystals will be black onyx, snowflake obsidian, smoky quartz, jet, pumice, lava, and amethyst. The herbs and plants will be our myrrh, wolfbane, moss, hemp, coltsfoot, cypress, nightshade, and wolfbane. Good incense for Saturday is myrrh and black poppy seed. Our metal is lead, and our tree is cypress. Our deities are Hecate, Saturn, and Erebus. So what does all of that bring to us? The energy Saturn brings to Saturday is all about protection. It's about karma and banishment, transformation, hard work, self-discipline, and boundaries. It's about defense, vitality, spirituality, and meditation, and is a good day for finding lost things and communicating with lost or missing people. Saturday is about being productive, knowing your limitations, and completing your tasks. Let's look at the two astrological signs for Saturday. We have Capricorn and Aquarius. Capricorns are ambitious people. They are practical and diligent. Capricorn is a hard-working sign that is very resourceful when they need to get things done. They can be a tad bit unforgiving and a little stubborn and tend to look for the worst when anticipating things. Capricorn are disciplined, they have traditional values, and are very responsible. Now, Aquarius, this is our rebellious sign that is spontaneous and innovative. They are a little eccentric, social, logical, and generally pretty confident people. This is the humanitarian of our signs. They are always helping others and getting things done. So what about Saturday, Saturn Day in our witchcraft practice? Well, there are a bunch of ways we can work with this energy. In general, this is a good day to work on cleansing and banishing negativity. This can be a personal transformation day too, working with the spirit elements and your chakras. Saturday is a great day to set your goals for the coming week and work on self-improvement. For spell work, Saturdays are all about structure and responsibility. So a good spell to work on with the energy of Saturn will be one that helps you gain more control with responsibility issues. Something that helps you deal with restrictions maybe, and seeing the rewards you can have if you work hard. Saturday's color is all about black, and black is about the spirit, spell binding and working with negativity. If you are using candle magic, grab your black or maybe a dark purple candle on Saturday and anoint them with myrrh or cypress oil before doing your spell work. Other spell work for Saturdays could be, ones maybe working with sacrifice, obstacles, you get communication, transformation, and certainly for transformation of life and death. Now, deities, to work with the deities, our Saturn Saturday deities are going to be Hecate, Saturn, Erebus, and also Set, which I don't think I mentioned him before. So Set is an Egyptian god and said to be a trickster. He is the god of confusion and disorder. Saturn is the Roman god of time, generation, disillusion, abundance, and wealth. The god Saturn is celebrated by the Romans each December with the Saturnalia, if I said that right, Saturnalia festival. This celebration is about feasting, giving gifts, and free speech. Now, Erebus is the Greek god of the darkness who lived near, not in, but near the underworld. He is said to be one of two children of chaos. And last, I have Hecate. We are probably more familiar with her and all of the areas we can work with her, but I have pulled a few. So Hecate is the Greek goddess of magic, life, and death, representing the balance between light and dark. She is known for guarding the space between the human world and the spirit world, and she is usually found at the crossroads. She's a triple goddess representing the life, death, and rebirth cycle. Hecate is the queen of the witches. Now, Hecate is associated with the dark moon. So working with her, during this powerful, new time, especially if it happens to fall on a Saturday, can bring a different energy to your spell work. You'll want to focus on spells for healing, spells for banishing, and calling on her to help with your cleansing rituals. Now, some people will call the dark moon the new moon, but really, the dark moon is the day before a new moon begins. Really, when the moon is completely gone from sight and the night is totally dark. So this is a good time for shadow work, looking into the dark within ourselves. The dark moon can help with past memories, even past lives, and recalling them. So Hecate is all about animal love, specifically dogs. So taking care of dogs, volunteering at your local shelter, or helping others by walking dogs is a good way to celebrate her. If you have a dog yourself, you can call on Hecate to protect your dog from harm. If you happen to know where the dog star is, called Sirius, you can visualize Hecate's energy transferring down to you from her star when looking up to it. So spell work at a crossroad, well, we might not all have access to an actual three-way crossroad, but there is a way you can use this energy to help with your spells, even if you can't physically stand at a crossroad. First, of course, if you were ever road tripping anywhere and come across a three-way crossroad, stop and grab some of the dirt that you can use later at home. Second, you can recreate a crossroad, type setting at home by using sticks or branches or maybe even candles to mark out the space. And third, best case scenario, is to do your spell work at an actual three-way crossroad. This will, if you're lucky enough to know where one is or have one close to you, this will pull, the true energy of Hecate and give your spell that extra special energy. So the number 13 is also special. I mentioned the number 13 in my last episode on the days of the week when I was talking about Friday and Freya's Day. So when the 13th falls on a Friday, it's a magical day of female power. Well, the number 3 is Hecate's number, and the number 13 is very sacred to her. Anytime you can do things in a sequence of 13, you will be honoring her. So for Saturdays in particular, if the 13th falls on a Saturday, you'll really be calling to Hecate and able to put an extra dose of magic in your spells. Just as rare, though, as Friday the 13th, we only have one day in 2023 where the 13th falls on a Saturday, and it happens to be coming up in May. So next year, I think for 2024, we'll have 3 Saturdays that are on the 13th, one in January, one in April, and then one in July. For the most powerful night of Hecate, though, you'll need to look for the 16th of November. That is her night. I think the next time we have a Saturday, November 16th, it won't be until 2030, though. Anyways, so there are many other ways to work with Hecate. She is the goddess of ghosts and necromancy. If you're not familiar with necromancy, it's the practice of communicating with the spirits of the dead. So with this, you'll often find, graveyard magic and graveyard spells. You can work with Hecate by working in between, like quote unquote, in between spaces. And by this, I mean, doorways, of course, dimension crossroads, gateways, and so forth. So look for the in-between spaces that can represent her. And of course, if the dog is not something you connect to, Hecate has many animals that she aligns with. She has snakes, serpents, crows, dragons, toads, owls, horses, and bears. Now, the dog is the most powerful symbol for Hecate's animals, but you can certainly work with any of them. All right, so what are some things we can do with Saturn's Saturday energy for our work? You know what? Nothing. No, don't do anything. Don't do anything for work on Saturday. I'm just kidding. Okay, this one might seem like there's nothing to pull from or talk about for bridging our office work and corporate world in with our witchcraft practice, but there is. So a couple things I pulled were keys. Keys are one of Hecate's symbols. She's usually shown Oh my goodness. She's usually shown holding keys in her hand. So if you're needing to feel Hecate's power at work, I would bring a set of keys with you that you did a Saturday spell with. Food, do some of your weekday baking or cooking on Saturday. You can pull some kitchen magic for this one and the energy of personal strength and power. Or if maybe you're needing help with banishing some energy at work and some of that magic, add some of that magic into your kitchen practice so your work week lunches will fuel you with energy to help you remove what is not wanted. The weekend is all about refueling you. So even though you may not think you are doing anything for the work week on the weekends, really by healing yourself and taking the time for self-care, you are in turn creating a more productive, positive person to tackle the work week. Well, we are down to only one day left, and that is Sunday, which is the Sun's Day. I'll have an episode on the Sun's Day in March, but I can say I have really loved researching all of the days of the week and the energy they bring to all of us. I'm really excited to be wrapping up the 7 days next month. Well, I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've written a poem, personally written a poem, and I really am sorry about that. If it happens to be something you look forward to, I know I have been lacking a little bit on my end. But poetry is not something I can force. I really must feel it. And when I do, the words come flowing out of me effortlessly. Now, I do happen to know what my next podcast is, and since it's going to be with a guest speaker talking about deity work, and spoiler alert, we are diving into Hecate, I thought this poem written by Deborah Kelly back in 2015 was perfect. So she writes, Crones. 5 gray, silver, and white-haired crones navigated slimy green stones. Like tight rope walkers, having been summoned by the wind talkers, they crossed a shallow creek, each feeble and weak. They entered the consecrated woods, wearing cloaks and hoods. Upon awareness of being pursued, their minds were filled with frantic thoughts of how to delude. The shadow of death, with quickened pulse and breath, one step ahead of the reaper, with soothing thoughts of being embraced by the timekeeper. 5 naked old women swayed hand in hand around a fire as the flames got higher and higher. They called the watchtowers of east, south, west, and north, and owl, bat, and snake to guard the circle as they issued forth, all while chanting hail and glory to the goddess of folklore and story. Hecate, protector of witches, granter of youth, abundance, and riches. Torch and key-bearing lady of the crossroads, divine matriarch of ancient wisdom and hallowed codes. The crones mixed a cauldron brew of aconite, mandrake, and myrrh. Intoxicated by the fumes, their vision began to blur. They drank their potion from a dragon-engraved silver chalice. Upon the wings of ecstasy, they ascended to Hecate's palace. With the matron's touch, their third eye was open to sight. They could see all that once was concealed and interpret at the speed of light. They began passing through life fast forward, then reverse. 5 old women joined to avoid life's inevitable curse. They danced and chanted from midnight to dawn. Wrinkles and sagging faded, then gone. Eyes locked, stumbling and entranced, being transformed and enhanced. Gifted with immortality, enlightened by the superior mentality. They rode the lightning back to the earth realm, to walk forever in the shade of the witch's elm. 5 blonde, red, and brown-haired ladies escaped from the brink of Hades. Departing from the goddess' embrace, 5 youthful women left their divine mother's sacred, secluded place. With her guidance, they strolled out of the woods and jumped a shallow creek, no longer feeble and weak. They returned to civilization, disguising themselves and their realization, for they would be persecuted and walked through the flame for bearing Hecate's name. But one day upon hearing the lady's command, they shall rise up and once again take her hand. That is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me today on Saturday, Saturn's Day. I'm really excited about next week's podcast. Since I don't personally have a bunch of background with deity work, I invited Anika back to this podcast and we'll be talking about working with the deities, really diving in specifically to Hecate and how we can work with her both at home and in the office. Have an amazing rest of your week and a great weekend, and I'll talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.